Yo, what up you guys, Magic IQ here, and today I'm giving you guys the best tips for the Grand Race. I got some of these from my boy Goliath, and a couple of those I've just learned from racing with really good drivers like Simg and Kois. Make sure you guys go follow all three of them. Their links will be down below in the description, as well as I have some content in this video from Simg Shorts, so make sure you guys go ahead and subscribe to him and turn post notifications on so you're aware of whenever he posts a new shortcut. And he's also streaming all the time doing the Grand Race live, so if you guys get into races with him, you'll quickly learn the best routes to take and also improve your pace as well as a driver, trying to keep up with him as well. Same thing with Kois, he's always live on Twitch and YouTube. Also Goliath will be live there as well, so make sure you guys go follow those guys. Amazing dudes for the Crew Motorfest and great racers, probably all top 5 to top 10 in the Grand Race, at least when it comes to PvP in this game. So make sure you guys go check them out, and without further ado, let's get straight into this video. So first things first, guys, obviously you guys are going to need to learn the tracks, learn the cuts and the track layouts. There's only a few track layouts, and sometimes if you get anything that kind of throws you off, you realize it's just another layout but backwards, and you can always see exactly what's going to happen while you're loading into the race. You can actually see the entire route you're going to take, and if you mentally split it up into sections of 32 to 31% each, you can see exactly which route you're going to be taking for which car, and that can sometimes help with your car choice. If you see a Street Tier 2 playlist is going to have a little bit of a straighter section, say it's the third route, and you see the entire track finishing off on kind of a straight section, you're going to want to use the Huracan over maybe like the C6. I personally love the consistency of the C6, and that's why I prefer it. And that leads me into my next topic, which means you guys are always going to want to use the best car possible while you're getting better at the Grand Race, because eventually you can veer off into off meta stuff, but it's actually really hard to keep up with those better drivers who are also using those meta cars if you are not also in them as well. Now if you're with a bunch of buddies and you just want to use some off meta stuff, a lot of you guys can just bump draft and you guys will be able to catch up, but some of these cars just simply corner better than others. Now speaking of shortcuts, there's actually a couple cuts I want to show you guys, but the first one I'm going to show you right here before we get into how to maneuver for the water, which I also have taken from Simg's channel as well. Big shout out to him. This is all in his YouTube shorts as well. This cut right here is on the rally raid section that does take you kind of around this little mountain area, and you're going to want to go around the checkpoint here, essentially on the outside of it, and shoot across, and that's just going to give you a big lead on all your opponents. So I thought I'd include that because I do personally have footage of it, but I wanted to give credit to where I first saw it, and it was there on Simg's channel under his short section. Now, getting into the next topic when it comes to cornering and being more consistent in the Grand Race would be using the gutters and walls when needed, in specifically rally, at least for the walls. And when you're doing hairpins and stuff like that, the gutters, you guys want to use that in mainly all the other playlists. Alpha GP, I tend to stay out of the gutters, but every other tier, I mainly use the gutters if I have to. Sometimes if you guys see a hairpin and you're coming full speed into it, you guys can just send it through the checkpoint and reset. That is a topic that is, kind of controversial in terms of how clean it is, and kind of a little bit of a weird situation where you put yourself in a situation where you might just get slammed into on the exit of that, because there's no spawn protection when you respawn, so just be careful. A lot of times on the first corner as well, you'll see guys just all run into the first checkpoint and respawn, so if you guys want to do that as well to avoid as much contact as possible, you will technically, I guess, be ghost for about 1 to 2 seconds, so you might be able to make some leadway there as well. Alrighty guys, now when it comes to rally, what you're going to want to do for the rally section of the race, I know we were just talking about using the gutters for other categories, and when it comes to the rally section of the race, you actually want to go to these hairpins a little bit hot and kind of twist the car using the e-brake or whatever kind of method you want to over-rotate the car so that the rear end faces the barricade and kind of bounce off the barricade. That is going to be the fastest way to take hairpins in the rally, as seen in the clip you guys are watching right now. So just a helpful tip for you guys there. And also, when you're taking shortcuts or anything like that, you guys want to avoid the water as much as possible. Specifically on the rally raid and rally sections of the tracks, sometimes they have water sections. You guys are going to want to try and stay out of the water as much as possible. And then the next topic has to do with saving your nitrous. Now, when we also talk about the water sections, you guys are going to also want to save your nitrous for those sections, as well as jumps. And you're only going to want to use the top half of your nitrous bar most of the time as well, because when you dip into the lower half of your nitrous, it's actually less powerful and it refills a little bit slower. So all the more better to stay in the top half. If you guys have to use 3/4 of the bar, maybe even a full bar to catch up and stay in the draft is one of the most important things in the Grand Race as well. You can literally bump draft your way all the way from last place into first if you and one other guy were to work together. I mean, there's been multiple occasions where these great racers have done 30-second second challenges just by bump drafting with each other, and they will eventually catch up to the pack because it is just such a strong mechanic, specifically in PvP. If you guys can bump draft, or it's called slipping, you guys will see a lot of people talk about, yeah, they definitely slipped for that time or whatever, yada yada. It's because they were drafting to get a certain time, because it's simply just not possible to go as fast as somebody who is drafting or being bump drafted. Last thing I want to talk about when it comes to nitrous and going as fast as possible is right before you guys are about to switch cars, every time you want to empty your nitrous bottle out, because it will refill your nitrous bottle when you switch cars. So make sure you guys empty the nitrous bottle fully, and obviously when you're coming up to the finish line as well, try to time it so that you use as much as possible. Use the draft for as long as possible, then try to come around people. Just know that you want to try and make your moves before you hit top speed, because it will be a little bit harder to come around somebody, because you will be bump drafting them. Even if you're coming up behind them, they will be getting a draft from you, essentially bumping them forward, so they will stay at top speed, and it's going to be a little bit harder to overtake, but it could make for a pretty cool close finish. Now, when it comes to braking into corners, you guys are going to have to use your brakes a lot more in this game versus other simcade or arcade racing games. This game, you're really going to have to prepare yourself for certain corners, and how you're going to do that is definitely do not slam on your brakes and turn at the same time. You will understeer, which will cause your car to just kind of slide out and overshoot the corner. What you're going to want to do is brake in a straight line, gradually apply the pressure, but you want to get it a little bit, obviously to the car to actually stop, so you want to apply maximum pressure, but just gradually do it. If you slam on it, then your brakes will lock up possibly, and your car will end up flying forward. Now, if you have ABS on, it should help with that a lot. If ABS is off, you definitely want to gradually slam on your brakes, and definitely don't just lock them up, because they will lock up. But specifically, even turning with ABS on, if you brake and turn at the same time, it's most likely not going to go well for you. So always brake in a straight line when preparing for corners. Now, one of the main things, obviously, this is pretty straightforward, but you guys are going to want to drive as consistently and less risky as possible. If you guys see a bunch of people slamming their way into a corner, there's no reason to not just let off and let them go make their mistake, and then you just go around the inside. I've literally let people pass me going into corners because I already knew they were going way too fast or being way too aggressive, and they'll just slide off, okay? Every time they'll just slide off. Now, the more consistently you guys drive, it'll obviously make you more successful, but you want to aim for little to no crashes or resets as possible. If you guys can get to the point where you're not resetting or crashing at all in one race, then you guys will most likely finish in the top half or top 10 to top 5 portion of the grand race, almost always. Every time, if you can just consistently drive your car, let people go past you, let people run and make the mistakes, and you just drive your car with consistency, you guys will be just fine. Try to avoid contact as much as possible, because you'll just get into a bouncing off of each other battle, and miss apexes, miss corners, and it just makes for an unpleasant race time for you and your opponents as well. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I try to run through as many tips as possible. If you guys want a top 5 tips to get faster in just regular single player racing, I have that video up as well. Any things I might have missed, you guys want to let me know down below in the comments. I would love to hear and appreciate it very much so. I appreciate you guys so much for your love and support. I hope you guys really enjoyed this tips and tricks video. I know a lot of you guys have been asking how to get faster in the grand race, and I just decided to put all of this into one video for you guys so I could give you guys a full breakdown of essentially how to be more consistent. Now, will you win every grand race? No, it is a very competitive game mode, and you will have to try your hardest just to get top 5 sometimes, but eventually you will get a win if you focus on these tips and really hone in on your skills and become as consistent and clean as possible. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. It's been Magic IQ, and I'll see you guys in the next one, and I'm out. Peace.